So in the equation, square root of 5x equals 10. All we have on the left-hand side of our equation is our radical. In order to get rid of that radical, we want to do the opposite operation. And the opposite operation of a square root is the exponent of 2. We're squaring it. If we square a square root, what happens is you end up with exactly what's underneath. So the square root of 5x all squared is just going to be 5x. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So we're going to take 10, we're going to square it. So we go 10 times 10, and we get 100. Now we just need to isolate x, or solve for x. So we're going to divide by 5 on both sides, because that's going to eliminate the 5. And we get x equals 20. Here's a similar example. We have 3 times the square root of x equals 5. Again, the first thing we want to do is we want to get the radical by itself on one side of the equation. So we're going to divide both sides by 3 to eliminate our 3. Now we have the square root of x equals 5 over 3. In order to get rid of the square root, we're going to square both sides. We get just x on the left-hand side because the square root of x squared is just x. On the right-hand side, we're going to go 5 squared, which is going to give me 25, over 3 squared, which is going to give me 9. Now, one thing that's important to do with these equations is to substitute the x value back into your original equation and make sure that it works. So if I go 3 times the square root of 25 over 9, I want to make sure that equals 5. If I take the square root first, using order of operations, I'm going to get 3 times 5 over 3 equals 5. And since we know that we can cancel out the 3's because there's one on top and one on the bottom, we get 5 equals 5. So 25 over 9 is in fact a solution to this equation. A final example, I've got 4 times the square root of x plus 1 minus 5 equals 3. The first thing I always need to do is get the radical by itself. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get 4 times the square root of x plus 1 equals 8. My next step, I'm going to divide by 4, and I get the square root of x plus 1 equals 2. Now my second step, now that I've got the radical all by itself, I'm going to square both sides. So square this side, square this side. When I square a square root, it eliminates the square root. So on this side, I'm going to be left with x plus 1. 2 squared, I'm going to be left with 4. And I need to take away 1 from both sides. So I get x equals 3. So the third step is solve for x. And the final step, which is very important, is you need to check, because it is possible to get a solution for x that will not work in your equation. So I've got 4 times the square root of 3 plus 1 minus 5 equals 3. Using order of operations, 3 plus 1 is going to give me 4. The square root of 4 is going to give me 2. Minus 5 equals 3. So 8 minus 5 equals 3, which is true. So that tells us that x equals 3 is a solution to this radical equation.